Hello, welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samaniego here, along with Adam Lemeries, Joshua Birch, Ben Schneider, and Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. We invite you to participate in the chat room. Leave your comments and share your questions, opinions with us right here on the air. We'll get to Formula One, the Hungarian Grand Prix post-race reaction. We are following the news as we know there are more investigations going on. But definitely first, before we get into F1, we want to first what happened yesterday and acknowledge a tragic occurrence from yesterday.
We're starting today's program off on a somber note. And yesterday, tragic accident occurred during the Classic Touring Car Racing Club's pre-93 and pre-03 touring car race at Brands Hatch. A volunteer race marshal died after a car lost control on the main straight, hit the guardrail, and started rolling over, striking the marshal's post. Yesterday was also a grim reminder of the dangers of motorsports as we saw a horrendous crash in the 24 Hours of Spa. Luckily, Frank Pereira, Kevin Estra, and Davide Rigon were lucky enough to walk away from that multi-car smash, but Jack Aitken was taken to the hospital with a broken collarbone, fractured vertebrae, and a very small lung contusion. But Jack Aitken is expected to make a full recovery and return to racing sometime in the near future. And sadly, we also saw the passing of the WASCC and Wanneroo Raceway general manager. Wanneroo Raceway is set to host the Repco Supercars Championship, and we definitely send our deepest condolences to the family and friends of everyone who was impacted by the tragic events that occurred on this racing weekend.
Hey, thank you, Kobe, again for sharing that. It was days like yesterday where essentially it makes everyone question their involvement in motorsports and, of course, shows why we are always pushing for more safety. Formula One, of course, has been really pushing the safety development for a long time. Last weekend, Max Verstappen and Silverstone walked away from a 51G impact. This race weekend, the Hungarian Grand Prix, the 11th round of the 2021 season, did not go his way, but he was able to, of course, complete the race. Everyone, of course, okay after especially the first lap corner chaos that caused the red flag in this race. Valtteri Bottas had a really poor start from second to fifth. Rear-ended Lando Norris McLaren. Both of them collided with the Red Bulls each, and this essentially saw the race really change. We saw both Red Bulls damaged. Perez was out. Charles Leclerc out. Daniel Ricciardo spun. Stroll was out. Many others. A lot of carnage in that. Considering everything that happened in this first lap and with Bottas, did he just seal his fate out of the Mercedes seat?
I have a hard time seeing him back in that seat next year, Joe. I got to be honest with you. First of all, I don't know who could have been silly enough to go on social media this weekend and pick Valtteri Bottas to win the race. In hindsight, what could I have possibly been thinking there? I thought, given everything that we saw the last 2 weeks, what we haven't been able to stop talking about with Hamilton and Verstappen and just taking up all the media coverage from Verstappen, I think rightly said in the media this week that he'd had enough of answering those questions. Maybe this was an opportunity for somebody like Valtteri Bottas or Sergio Perez to come in and steal the glory this weekend. And, I just kind of went out on a limb and said, this might be the once or twice a year that we get to see Bottas 2.0, as he likes to call it, and maybe see something special from him. And instead we saw the exact opposite. He'd never retired on the opening lap before for any reason, and goes out and makes a major mistake and hits the back of the McLaren going into the first corner, and that's it. On the other hand, and I know we have some ongoing investigations and stories that we're following, I think it's worth mentioning that only Vettel, at least last time I checked, was under investigation. People are saying Russell also stopped on the cool-down lap, so he might be in trouble too in terms of how much fuel was left in his car. But at the moment, he is celebrating his first points finish in the Williams, and the timing could not have been better for that on a weekend where Valtteri Bottas made a major mistake. I think if you're Mercedes now, you've always kind of liked having Valtteri Bottas because, he's not at the level, or hasn't proven at least yet, that he's at the level of a Nico Rosberg, somebody who can take the fight to Lewis and, in the case of the 2016 season, actually go out and beat him and challenge for a championship. And it's nice to have two drivers who can do that. But the problem that you run into that we've seen before at Mercedes is the teammates start to butt heads a little bit, and it gets to be there gets to be some conflict within the team. Lewis and Valtteri have a very good relationship. We haven't seen very much of that in their 5 years or 4.5, I guess, so far together as teammates. Somebody like George Russell coming in, if he could challenge Lewis, would we start to see that again now that we know Lewis has signed on for 2 more years through 2023? So I think Mercedes have a difficult decision ahead of them, but at the same time, it's looking less and less likely to me that Valtteri Bottas is going to be able to keep that seat in 2022 and beyond.
If you were watching the show yesterday, you would have been hopefully remembering what I said at the start of the race, where I described that I expected Valtteri Bottas to be a kamikaze pilot into turn 1 to take out Verstappen and Perez. And I'd just like to say, if you want the lottery numbers, I'm right here and I'll give you them as well. I got it spot on as to what happened. I couldn't have predicted the exact circumstances, but yeah, I expected Bottas to be a kamikaze pilot into turn 1. Didn't expect it in the way it happened with hitting the back of Norris and using Norris as a bowling ball into the Red Bulls. But I think Bottas played the team game over the past 2 races. He let Hamilton through at Silverstone and he deferred with a bad start, I think, as well. Because we saw Perez had a good start. Norris had a great start. They were all on that side of the grid. Why did Bottas not get away right? Not too sure. It was a dry grid slot because they all had the 10 ups. I'm not sure there. But yeah, Bottas locking up into turn 1, taking out several cars. He's got a 5-place grid penalty for that. The team now has got thousands of pounds worth of damage. The gearbox could be done as well, the way because he hit the barriers hard as well. I'm expecting to see Valtteri Bottas in the second half of this year very much a team player, not out for himself, because I think everybody knows ever since Shakir last year, Bottas is going bye-bye from Mercedes. And he's not got that drive in 2022. I agree with you completely, Ben. George Russell would be the driver to put in. But as you say, would Hamilton accept him? The butt heads. I mean, Bottas and Russell butted heads in Shakir so much. But surely, if Mercedes want a championship, it's got to be 2 drivers who can win races and outperform the car. We know Hamilton and Russell can do that. So far this year, Bottas has had a pole position, a fastest lap, and podium. He has not had the race win. He has not won now in over a season and a half because he didn't win. The last one was Russia 2020. Missed out in Shakir because he got caught up on the wrong tires. So yeah, I think Bottas is out of that Mercedes seat, and I stand by what I say. I don't think he'll finish the season with Mercedes. I think he'll either walk away or get sacked if he continues making these silly mistakes.
Bottas, definitely a lot of people were very critical of his mistake today. And definitely, I think this is just something where everything, as you all mentioned, added fuel to the fire. And for Mercedes, it looked like it would just be Lewis Hamilton cruising to an easy win. But then that formation lap, the dry track, everyone pitted to get on those slick tires. That just left one of the more unreal things I've ever could remember. Just one car on the grid taking the start. I remember Indianapolis when we had 6 cars, this whole new level of just an unpredictable race. And this turned out to be one of the most unpredictable races because at the end when we saw Hamilton make that pit stop, Esteban Ocon inherited the lead, Sebastian Vettel 2nd place, and Nicholas Latifi 3rd place. Everyone that was out essentially in Q1 yesterday was able to get around that crash. With everything that happened, Ocon claims his first victory. Big part of that, of course, 4th place. We saw Fernando Alonso battling really hard, trying to keep Lewis Hamilton behind him. Kept him behind long enough to ensure that he couldn't get to Esteban Ocon. So definitely big day for Alpine. And Alpine, overall this year, they seem pretty good. Fernando Alonso, of course, getting that essentially right now is a 5th place. That could change depending on what happens with the investigation. Alpine team, they've been looking good all year. Of course, David Brivio went from Suzuki MotoGP team that won the championship with Juan Mir. Now he's the racing director at Alpine. After the summer break, do you anticipate seeing Alpine and Ocon up towards the front more now that they got the confidence they can go out there and win?
We saw this with Perez last year in the Racing Point, a driver who was without contract, won the race in Shakir, went into the last race of the season and outperformed. And Perez has carried that with him over to Red Bull as well. So yeah, this is going to be a big lift for the team over at Enstone as well. Because if you think about it as well, this is the first time they've won a race. If you go back through Renault, Lotus, all that, this is the first time they've won that team, that base in Enstone as well, since Australia in 2013 with Kimi Räikkönen. That's a long time ago. So this race win's going to mean an awful lot to them. Alpine's official first win because they're a new entity. Ocon's first ever win. They've cemented together their new relationship until 2024. A car that many people in preseason testing, myself included, couldn't understand the aerodynamics of it because it looks massive on its head. But it works. And we saw today, if it goes out in front, the Astons can't catch it. Vettel was struggling lap after lap to catch up. He had a couple of moments, but just couldn't get through. That's not the Hungaroring's fault, because where Vettel's looking was down at turn 1 and turn 2 and up at the hill turn 4, places we've seen moves throughout the race. So yeah, I think throughout the summer we could see Alpine and Ocon up towards the front more often, and definitely more into Q3, definitely scoring points, maybe in a top 5 finish every now and then. And just quickly on your point you said about the formation lap and how unusual it was, I thought it's very extreme, isn't it? I mean, Lewis Hamilton takes one driver out of a race, and to avoid him at the start, the entire field decides to start from the pit lane to avoid being taken out by him. I mean, come on, guys. He only made one mistake. It's not life-changing.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Ben. I have to agree with you, Josh. It's like I've never seen anything like when it comes to Alpine. I think they can at least get into Q3, have at least a top 10 starting spot, gain a lot more points, and could we see Esteban Ocon win again? With everything going on between Lewis and Max right now, anything is possible in F1. We saw it today. I think you could see Esteban Ocon in victory lane, but don't count out Fernando Alonso. That 40-year-old, he can still drive. He's a former champion, and he proved today, never count me out. Think about all the old guys, that have won in sports this year, lately. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl at 45. Phil Mickelson won the PGA Championship, and he's 50. Even Fernando Alonso can still go out there and drive, and if he were to win a race this year, I think it'd be kind of cool to see.
Well, Josh, I just wanted to come in real quick and bring up something that I saw on F1 Checkered Flag, the post-race show from Sky Sports. And George Russell was kind of giving an analysis of the restart. And of course, he tried that little cheeky move to come out second behind Lewis, ended up having to give those spots back. But what he brought up that I hadn't even considered was that Mercedes, because they were first in the constructors last year, they have the first pit stall, or I'm using the NASCAR American terms, of course, but whatever you want to call it. They have the first slot when it comes into the pits, and Lewis would have had to probably wait and not risk an unsafe release, because literally every single person, every single driver, every single team in the field was coming in to change their tires. So if you're thinking about it from Mercedes' perspective, they were really caught between a rock and a hard place, because the one option was to do what they did, which was stay out on the intermediates, run a lap, and then come into the pits and change the tires, or they could come in with everybody else and they'd likely get held up there as well. Now, I still think that the latter probably would have been the better thing for them to do, because, they lost so much time on the one lap that Lewis had to do on the intermediates. But it's just something to consider. Like it wouldn't probably have been a surefire, Lewis restarts from the lead and drives off to an easy victory either way, because of the logistics of coming into the pits after the restart.
You're absolutely right. And I've got this graphic in front of me here that the FIA give out to everybody. And if I hold it up all right, you see here is the Mercedes garage, and every other team, Red Bull, McLaren, Aston, Alpine, Ferrari, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams. So you're right. The way everyone would come in, We've got Alpine down here as well. He would have gone through Ocon and Alonso. So yeah, there's pole position, look, just way down here on the control line. And then Mercedes would have had to wait for everybody else to go through. The safety car line and the pit exit is up here on the back half of the track as well. So that is the limit that you cannot go. So the safety car had come in for a 5-light start. That's why everybody could take to the pit lane because they weren't breaking any rules. So yeah, that is actually, I thought about it earlier on in the race, and I didn't mention the commentary, but you are spot on with that, Ben, as well. And I can't believe I didn't realize completely. But yeah, if Hamilton had boxed to put on dry tyres, he would have finished up near the back anyway. So maybe it was sensible to take the start, get as many seconds as possible, and then accept he was at the back. But as we know now, Hamilton, the reason he was also struggling in the race today is he thinks he's got long COVID effects, which is terrible because he's taken himself off to the doctors and he's now come back that he's severely dehydrated. So he's had some fluids pumped into him as well. So not a good day at all for Lewis. So even more amazing that the 7-time champ got a podium today.
Yes, the 7-time champ got a podium today, and it might be one spot better with Sebastian Vettel under investigation for some type of fuel infringement. And if Sebastian Vettel is disqualified from the Hungarian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton will move up a spot and get second, earning 3 more points over Max Verstappen in the championship. And with his unofficial 3rd place finish, he takes the lead over Verstappen. Max scored 1 point, and Hamilton's 3rd place finish earned him 15 points, and if Vettel is disqualified, then Hamilton will gain 3 more points over Max in the championship. And Lewis did not get the fastest lap today. And however, in our grid ratings of the Formula One series, our in-house rating of each series, Verstappen leads Hamilton by 4 points. So the two are almost equal. We never saw a will-to-will battle today between Mercedes and Red Bull like we probably all expected. Entering the summer break, do you believe Red Bull is feeling the pressure behind Mercedes, or is still the team Mercedes needs to catch?
Honestly, Kobe, I'm not sure. And I think if you're obviously Christian Horner's been very vocal the last couple of weeks. I think he's got to be extremely frustrated because he feels like, Verstappen's race was ruined, obviously, at Silverstone with what happened there. And then today for Bottas to make that mistake on the opening lap and have both cars compromised. Of course, Verstappen was able to limp home and pick up at least 1 point. But, I think if you're Red Bull, you had this pretty sizable lead in both championships 2 races ago, and now you've seen it evaporated, arguably through no fault of their own. I think, if anything, I think that this is probably just going to fire them up even more to come out. And when we get to Belgium, we'll see who's got the advantage. I think it's been very close all year. And, like I've been saying, I try to remain neutral on this show as much as I can. I'll always have a soft spot for a couple of guys like AJ Allmendinger and Alexander Rossi and people like that. I like Lewis Hamilton. I like Max Verstappen. I'm just hoping that the championship comes down to a checkered flag at Abu Dhabi. And, I certainly hope that we see a good battle when we get back after the summer break. But it's very tough for me to tell who's entering with an advantage now, because it seems like the momentum is swung back towards Mercedes' favor. But at the same time, that's because Red Bull have had problems through no fault of their own. So, I'd like to think that they haven't lost any performance advantage that they might have had. We'll see what happens in a month's time when we get back on track.
Verstappen got so angry in the press conference yesterday after qualifying. Tom Clarkson asked him a question saying, now, going into turn 1 tomorrow between you and Lewis, is there any chance of any more contacts? And Max just cut him off midstream because he got so annoyed. He said, I've had enough of these bleeping questions. Can we just get on with it? It's happened now in the past. It's a new day tomorrow. Just all that lot. He was completely angry and beside himself with it all. So I don't know if the pressure's getting to them. It's weird, isn't it? Because Hamilton hits Verstappen and Red Bull come off as the worst party in the eyes of the fans. It's weird. Mercedes have got under Red Bull's skin in such a way that I don't know how it's possible. I called Christian Horner yesterday Karen Horner. It may as well be Karen Horner because he was still having a go at him as well. Christian was having a go at Toto in the post-race show. I was doing touring cars at the time, but I've heard about it, that they were having a go with each other. So it's even getting there as well. I think this is more a battle at the moment between the two team principals for Red Bulls in terms of feeling the pressure. Christian is trying every trick in the book to get ahead and keep Toto behind. And Toto's not just cool, calm Austrian. He's fantastic how he does it. Verstappen's getting very angry at the questions constantly going to him about the contacts on the track. And that's just fueling his anger to attack Hamilton. And Hamilton is getting booed from the crowd and saying he's loving it. So entering the summer break, I think it's going to be a nice time for everyone to chill out, relax, re-energize, come back to Spa with an eye on the championship. And honestly, Mercedes 300 points to Red Bull on 219, the Constructors' Championship. That is absolutely nothing. As we saw today, that could easily change at Spa, the Netherlands, and into Italy as well. A triple header can change a lot of things in Formula One. We've seen it happen numerous times now, so it's going to be good.
And with the chaos we all saw today, George Russell, Nicholas Latifi scored points for Williams, and Russell at one point radioed to his team to do everything to help Latifi while Latifi was in third place. And George Russell, obviously very emotional in the post-race, tearing up on the joy of scoring double points and first-time points for him and Williams for a very, very long time. Is George Russell set for a Mercedes drive in 2020, or could we see a surprising move? Something we typically see with Red Bull, with George Russell going to the Mercedes at Spa and Valtteri Bottas going to Williams.
I've said before that I could see the switch happening over the summer, and after today, it's very strong. Because Bottas now not scoring today, Russell proving that car can get up there. It's even had Latifi up there as well. Russell 9th, Latifi 8th. That's good, strong points. 6 points now in the championship for Williams, which is great. Of course, because it's 4 for Latifi and 2 for Russell. Mercedes definitely will have Russell in the car in 2021. Going into Spa in Belgium, I would say it's a 60-40% chance Bottas won't be in the car and that Russell will take over. I think it's that. It swings and roundabouts. It's changing. You can't tell. But yeah, I'm thinking as well. Today was a big day for George Russell. He proved that he can think of the team by saying, compromise my strategy and let Latifi get it. Because at the time, Latifi was running third in a race where he was commanding third place as well. And then fell back after they swapped tyres. And he's proved as well that he enjoys it because he was crying on the radio, which means he does love Williams. And he does deeply. I think it's beautiful to see a driver love every team. And he's been very vocal, hasn't he, by saying, I will be driving a Mercedes-engined car next year. Yeah, I bet we know which one. It's black with silver stars as well. And it's got a 7-time champion on the left-hand side of the garage.
I gotta completely agree with you, Josh. What Williams did today was pretty incredible. Williams has had a history of having world champions on their team. Think about Nigel Mansell. Think about Damon Hill. Frank Williams is one of the greatest minds in F1 history. And to see Williams having double points today is awesome, incredible. And I believe there will be an announcement before Spa saying that George Russell takes the place of Valtteri Bottas in the other Mercedes, and it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the year progresses.
Would that be for Spa or for 2022, the announcement? Because I think we could see an announcement for Russell for 2022 as well, coming at Spa. Do you think it's going to be Belgium or Spa?
Spa.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Same page.
Josh, I think you're absolutely right, though. I think if this were Red Bull, we were talking about like a Red Bull AlphaTauri kind of thing instead of Mercedes and Williams. I think the switch might have already happened, or it would be happening going into Spa, because I think they're a lot more ruthless there. I don't know if Toto Wolff's the kind of guy that is going to make that swap happen in the middle of the season, but crazier things have happened in Formula One, so I guess we'll see.
Never cross a Terminator. That's what I've learned.
Amazing. Definitely, it's going to be a very interesting summer break for Formula One. And this season, just about every race this year has delivered great, exciting races that have left people talking, including Spain, France, And Hungary, the Hungarian Grand Prix, we were talking about this is Monaco without walls. Definitely all three races. We anticipated a procession, we got more than procession. Monaco had drama with Hamilton behind trying to get towards the front. Bottas, that brutal pit stop that took him out of the race. And then, of course, the comical relief of Lance Stroll and that meme that has been born since then. And this championship battle has been just fierce between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen all season. When it comes to the second half of the season, will we see this excitement continue? And where does the F1 season rank compared to other series like the IndyCar, MotoGP, and NASCAR Cup Series?
Well, I think the gloves are off between Red Bull and Mercedes. So I think the answer to the first question is absolutely. I think we're really in for a treat. The championship is still close. And in terms of answering your second question, Joe, I mean, it's up there. I've been following Formula One full time really since 2015. And, Ferrari kind of flexed their muscles for a couple of years with Vettel. Obviously, when Hamilton and Rosberg were teammates, we at least got a championship battle between the two drivers in the dominant team. But this is the most exciting season that I can personally say I've ever followed and been a part of. And, in terms of, the parity that we've seen this year in IndyCar, NASCAR has been very good as well. But, I think when you look at Formula One, realistically speaking, you expect there to be, two, maybe three teams at most that could win any given race weekend. And this year we've seen, we just saw a victory from Alpine and Esteban Ocon, a first-time winner there. I think this is shaping up to be something really special. And, like I said, I wish, I understand why we have the summer break. I'm sure the teams definitely need some time off, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to Belgium right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Ben. I can't wait to see the second half of the F1 season. And you have people talk from other sports. They're talking about Formula One. I believe JJ Watt has been watching. I know I have a friend, Amanda Scarborough, who covers softball for ESPN. She's been watching. I have people in the horse racing industry have been watching F1. So this championship is getting eyes from all over the sports world. And I don't expect anything else. I believe the second half of the year will be just like the first.
I've never known a season like it. I cannot remember the last time we've had this amount of drama, chaos, team politics played in. I mean, 2012, it was Vettel versus Alonso in what was mathematically a title fight, but Ferrari had a dog of a car that year and only got lucky with some retirements that Vettel had in the early stages of the season. 2010, I think, was the last true exciting championship we had. We had 5 drivers in the last race of the year going in for the title fight. We were excited, but we still had very much dud races in 2010. I'm trying to think. Even as you said, Monaco is exciting. Let's go back. Bahrain, last lap, the entire race was chaotic. Emilia-Romagna, wet, big accidents, more drama. Portimao, we had the interesting tactics between Verstappen and Hamilton of edging each other out lap after lap, a strategy game as well. Spain was even exciting. When was Spain exciting? Monaco, yes, it was a procession, but we had Leclerc in the qualifying. We had him not taking the start. We had Verstappen having an easy run to the line. Then we go on as well. I can't remember the next race was. Azerbaijan speaks for itself, doesn't it? That was one of the best races of the year. France. Well, I was expecting to sleep through France. I was loving it. We had a title fight everywhere. The 2 Austria races provided us with 2 very different races, proving that double headers do work in Formula One. The British Grand Prix at Silverstone completely flipped the title open again, and it gave us the contacts that we were going to have between Hamilton and Verstappen. And in Hungary today, I think, has been one of the best races I've ever commentated on in Formula One. And now, going into the rest of the season, Belgium, Netherlands and Italy, a triple header, 2 very fast tracks, and then we've got the Netherlands at Zandvoort returning. It's a tight, twisty, single-file track. But we can have good racing there because we've seen it on the F1 games. We've seen it in esports. And if the esport drivers can do it, the F1 drivers can do it. We've got a banking as well on that part of the track. How's the tyres going to handle? Lots to look forward to. Italy last year was a great one. Even the Russian Grand Prix could be exciting because they've got slipstream now between the two Red Bulls. So Mercedes, who've won there since 1914, could be defeated. That's exciting. Turkey, do you remember last year? The track surface hasn't changed and the weather's not good round there. Japan, that's a great race for history of championships as well. United States, again, 2015, 2018, 2020, exciting races, or 2019, sorry, exciting races. Same go at Mexico. You get a festival atmosphere and it's on Halloween. That's going to be even better. Everyone's going to be dressed up in funny costumes. There's going to be jokey little punch fights in the paddock, and it's going to be another fist fight to get to the end of the title between Hamilton and Verstappen. We've got Brazil again. Do you remember Verstappen getting taken off by Stroll? We get wet weather races there. We get dramatic stuff. We got a to-be confirmed race. We could be a second race in Texas. That's going to be even better because it could be, what I've heard, a morning and a twilight race because they're installing some lights around there. Maybe twilight was the only thing they could do. Saudi Arabia, again, a brand new circuit going onto the calendar, looking quite quick. It's 27 corners in total. How the team's going to handle that, I don't know. It's going to be a blind one going into it as well. But it's a street track. So who's good at street tracks? Verstappen. We've seen it this year. And then the last race in Abu Dhabi, they've changed the track at Abu Dhabi to make it more exciting, to give us more overtaking. So even that's going to be exciting. I've never known a season, I've never known a season like this. I've never known a track change its configuration to make the last race even better. I am buzzing. I have literally felt all weekend long, knowing it's the last race before the summer break, I felt I've literally gone like this since Bahrain. I've blinked and it's there. I am buzzed. Where does it stand? I think last year, MotoGP had the best championship. This year, F1, IndyCar, MotoGP, and then NASCAR, I think, comes in very close in third with MotoGP. It has been an astounding year for sport. And you know why? Got a full season. COVID protocols are sort of still keeping us in, but full expanded calendar, more time to relax, more time to analyze. I'm loving it. And as you can tell, I can talk for hours about it because I love this season. I am never going to forget it because 2021 has been amazing and I can't wait for the second half.
Yeah, and we do have a comment from a viewer in the chat room, I believe. It said Esteban Ocon should be thanking Fernando Alonso for defending against Lewis Hamilton. Otherwise, this person doesn't think that Esteban Ocon would have won the race. And also their prediction for the champion, winning the World Championship, and Red Bull winning the Constructors Championship. And that would certainly be interesting to see Red Bull take the Constructors and then Hamilton taking the Drivers' World Championship. And I think you brought up a good point about Fernando Alonso. And I think today we saw a little bit of vintage Fernando Alonso. It was really nice to see the Spanish stallion, that's what I'll call him, go out there, fight, and really look like the Fernando Alonso of old. And with Esteban Ocon winning the Hungarian Grand Prix, who knows? We could see another surprise winner. We could very well see Fernando Alonso return to the top step of the podium, especially if we have any more of these crazy Formula One races. And now looking at week 19 of the grid ranking, and the only change we saw in the top 10 was Kyle Larson, who got around Max Verstappen, whose score dropped with the 10th place result today in Hungary, and Hamilton right behind. And towards the back, we have Lando Norris, Valtteri Bottas, and Sergio Perez all losing positions. Next week, big weekend of racing, IndyCar on the streets of Nashville for the Music City Grand Prix, MotoGPs at Austria's Red Bull Ring, and NASCAR for the first time since 2019, going back to upstate New York at one of my favorite road courses, Watkins Glen International. And here's the question for you guys. Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward are both in the top 10 with Kyle Larson. And with IndyCar in the streets of Nashville, brand new street circuit, Kyle Larson, who's going to be racing on the road course at Watkins Glen Hendrick Motorsports, looking really great on the road courses. So between Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Kyle Larson, which driver is the most significant favorite to win next weekend?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Kyle Larson winning at Watkins Glen because, like you said, it's a brand new street track in Nashville. From what I've seen, I love it. It should be awesome, incredible racing. It'll be a street fight that a lot of people will probably love. But Kyle Larson has been really good on the road courses. And he goes to, like you, Kobe, one of my favorite road courses, Watkins Glen, and a sponsor that means a lot to me, the Go Bowling at the Glen. So hopefully at the Glen, nobody won't have a gutter ball experience.
Yeah, Adam, I think I have to agree with you. Anytime you go to a new track, which the IndyCar Series will be doing, it's very difficult to predict a winner. And as we've been saying, there's been a lot of parity. Obviously, Palou and Award have both had great seasons, but there's a bunch of drivers in IndyCar and, to be fair, NASCAR as well that could win on any given race weekend. But you look at the season Kyle Larson and Hendrick Motorsports in general have had. I think it's got to be between Larson and Chase Elliott, who you're talking about, for the favorites going into Watkins Glen. So I would probably lean Kyle Larson to answer your question.
Yeah, it's called. And now it's time for our grid one shining moment of the weekend. So Josh, I'll start with you. What's your grid one shining moment?
It actually doesn't come from Formula One. It comes to the British Touring Car Championship, and it comes with Senna Proctor in the last race of the day in the British Touring Car Championship, winning the race after a very, very hard start. Let me explain to you. So the last race of the day, race 3, had 2 different starts because of a red flag. So the first start, he gets a very bad getaway, but gets the inside line to turn 1, but gets jumped by Ash Sutton. So when the race restarts after a pile-up, Sutton tries it again, but this time Proctor uses the track advantage, slips through the inside, and then forces Sutton off the track, and Sutton spins round and then eventually gets taken out because he breaks his rear suspension. So my moment, it goes to Senna Proctor for genius moment of jumping Sutton in towards turn 1, surprising him and going on to win his first race in the British Touring Car Championship. Surprised me very, very much. I was very happy calling that third race of the day, despite it getting red flagged twice.
I'm going to go with a couple of ARCA drivers. There was both an ARCA Menard Series, the main series race at Winchester last night, and an ARCA West race as well. I want to give a call to Greg Van Alst for a second place finish behind, surprise, surprise, Ty Gibbs. I know there's a little bit of controversy with what happened between him and Corey Heim. But a continued great season for Ty Gibbs. But Greg Van Alst to finish second is a great run for him and his team. And Joey East in the ARCA Menard Series West. I know a lot of my friends and I, we like to joke sometimes that it should be the Bill McAnally Racing West Series presented by Sunrise Ford, because those are really the only 2 teams that have the funding and the capability to compete for race wins. So to see an independent team and an independent driver and Joey East go out and get the win was a very special moment. So want to give a shout out to a couple of underdogs in the ARCA Series and make that my great one shining moment for the weekend.
My one shining moment of the weekend, I have to go with Esteban Ocon and that victory for the Alpine team. I mean, last year he got in Renault. A lot of people were questioning, does he really belong in F1 in Renault? The year before, he was out of F1 after being with essentially Racing Point for just 1 season. Got second place at Secure. A lot of people started talking about him. Then this year, fast start. Then he gets that contract extension, and now he has a win. Things are looking up for him. He has to be really happy. Got to be very proud of everything that team has done. Alonso, people were critical that it could be just toxic. Seems like that team is just gelling on a whole new level.
And we'll see what happens when we get the official Formula One results. But regardless, my one shining moment has to go to George Russell. And we already knew time and time again that George Russell is more than capable of getting that second seat at Mercedes alongside Lewis Hamilton. I think once again today he proved that he deserves that seat. I do believe Bottas is on the way out, and I'll be really shocked if Valtteri Bottas is driving for Mercedes next year. And I want to give an honorable mention to Alessandro Perguidi at the 24 Hours of Spa. That was an epic pass in the final 10 minutes of the 24-hour race at Spa-Francorchamps to take the lead in wet weather conditions. So definitely a big win for Alessandro Perguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, and Come Ledogar for winning the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa.
Me, Fernando Alonso. He's a former F1 world champion, and he can still do it at 40 years of age. I think he has a shot to win a race this year. It's gonna be awesome to see the second half of the F1 season.
And we've got some news at the moment about what's going on at Sebastian Vettel's car. Don't expect anything in the coming hours either, because Otmar Safnauer has been in a meeting with the FIA stewards. That is, if I take a look at my notes, which I haven't got in front of me right now, so I can't tell you who the steward is this weekend, because it could be Emmanuel Pirro, but he was back at Silverstone. But still, regardless, he's been in with Michael Masi, the race stewards, and Joe Bauer. Joe Bauer is the technical delegate for the FIA. So basically, he's like the big policeman, keeping an eye on all the cars and whether they're legal or not. Now, Joe Bauer reported Vettel to the stewards because he failed to complete the in-lap. And basically, what happens is Vettel had to stop because they could only extract 0.3 milliliters of fuel out of that Aston Martin. And you are required to have 1 liter, I think, left in the tank, or 1 milliliter, something like that, to get back in to measure the tank. And what's happening now is they've got the car back. So right now, the number 5 Aston Martin is in the FIA way garage. It's staying there. It has been stripped ever so slightly because they are trying desperately to eke any fuel out they can get. And what's going on is, if they can't get that litre out, Vettel could be receiving a 30-second penalty. That's what it says in the rule book. That's what I've just been double checking. So he could be facing a 30-second penalty. They could be a special dispensation from the stewards. However, if there's not, could be a penalty. That could put Sainz on the podium. And also, as well, the stewards do take into account the last lap distance. Now, he stopped at turn number 12, if I just look behind on my notes. So he stopped at turn 12. That means he's got another 0.78 of a mile to get to the pit lane. So they'll add that in, and they've got to add it to the calculation. So Vettel could be in big doo-doo at the moment. But no sign of anything official about George Russell yet being called to the stewards. That could go later on to the night because they need to get Vettel's done first. So a long night ahead for the F1 people.
Very long night. Of course, we'll be updating. I know you, Josh, will be updating on Twitter as well. Everybody will be following, and we do have a question in the chat room. It comes, Daniel Ricciardo got beat by 2 Williams and an Alfa Romeo. Now, we know all season long, Daniel Ricciardo has not been having that great season. Ben, starting with you, and then Josh, when it comes to Daniel Ricciardo and the McLaren, should he be worried?
I don't know. It's been very puzzling to me to see Ricciardo struggle like he has, especially when Lando Norris. I mean, Norris could very well be the best of the rest. He's ahead of both Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen's teammates in the championship point standing. So he's had a phenomenal year so far. Whereas Daniel Ricciardo's got, several years more experience than Lando Norris, and is a proven race winner. People were saying back in the day that he was maybe the 3rd best driver in the grid behind Hamilton and Vettel. Winning races with Red Bull, having strong runs with Renault here and there, to see how far behind Lando he has been very surprising. So I think, I don't know. It seems to me that, you've got to give Daniel Ricciardo maybe a little bit more time to show something. I don't think he needs to be concerned about losing his seat over the summer break. Like Josh was saying, maybe Valtteri Bottas needs to be concerned about that. But, I don't know. I think Ricciardo's obviously a good driver. Maybe just something with the McLaren, it doesn't fit his driving style or something like that. But, I'm with the person in the chat. It's been kind of upsetting to see Ricciardo because, he's a very popular driver, and I think it's good for Formula One when you see him up front and doing well. So, it's been a little frustrating to see how much he's been struggling this year.
Is now a good time to mention that Danny Ricciardo left Red Bull because he wasn't happy with the team. They started winning again. He joined Renault because he thought it would be the best team to be with. They didn't win. He's left. He's gone to McLaren. Renault started winning under the Alpine name. So maybe it's the Danny Ricciardo curse like Fernando Alonso had. Joined Ferrari, didn't win. Joined McLaren again, didn't win again. And so on. But this time he's joined Alpine. They've won. So yes, the Alonso curse is broken, ladies and gentlemen. It's been transferred to Danny Ricciardo. Yeah, Ricciardo needs to be worried because he signed this contract with the team. They expected a Grand Prix winner. And yes, we all said at the start of the year, this is going to take about 5 or 6 races for him to acclimatise to the team, to the car. that should have happened by now. I do not know why he is so up and down. Some days he's in Q2, some days he's in Q3. Even on one of the days, he was eliminated in Q1. I think that was back in France. I do not know what's happening. But if I was McLaren, you've got Lando Norris, who's constantly getting your team podiums, constantly getting you up there in third in the Constructors' Championship. And then you've got Daniel Ricciardo, who's struggling a lot, who can't seem to get the hand of the car. He's got a Mercedes power unit engine as well. It should be quick. It is quick. Yeah, I think Ricciardo is very, very, very worried. And I think the team is starting to look elsewhere. And I think, going about that as well, Kobe has a question on that.
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead, Kobe.
Yes, another person in the chat room says, should we be worried about Daniel Ricciardo getting beat by 2 Williams and an Alfa Romeo? But here's the question that I'm wondering. Instead, should Daniel Ricciardo be worried about the McLaren IndyCar driver, Pato O'Ward, instead? Because Pato O'Ward, he's going to get a test in the McLaren Formula One car at the end of the year in Abu Dhabi. And Pato O'Ward is performing so well in the IndyCar series. I certainly believe he's capable of being a Formula One driver. And if Pato O'Ward goes out there, wins the IndyCar championship this year, I don't potentially see Pato O'Ward being in Formula One next year per se. But if Pato O'Ward wins the championship this year and goes out there and performs well next year, because I think Daniel Ricciardo deserves at least another season to get things right with McLaren. And if in season 2 at McLaren, if things still aren't going well for Daniel Ricciardo, Pato O'Ward dominating in IndyCar, I'm wondering if Zach Brown would consider pulling the plug and giving Pato O'Ward a Formula One race seat, because Pato's admitted in the media that he didn't admit what it was, but he said that he wants more, and I assume what he's referring to is a Formula One seat with McLaren, and I certainly think that could be a possibility. So Daniel Ricciardo, better watch out, because Pato O'Ward might be coming for your job someday.
Amazing. That'll be a lot to follow, and definitely be sure to follow us on Twitter at GRIDranking. And of course, below there are links to Josh and Ben's YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to their channels as well. And want to give a big special thank you to our Patreon subscribers, Colin, Mark Duchel. Thank you for keeping us on the air. Monthly report is about to come out, and encourage everyone to sign up so that way you get the monthly reports as well as our annual reports. See where your investment is going in. And we want to give a special welcome to our newest sponsor, Public.com. Get interested in investing, get in the stock market. This is the best website to do so. Combines everything from understanding the stock market with great useful tools and the benefits of social media, where you could chat with your family, friends, share what you're doing, share what you're investing in, and learn. Makes it a fun experience. And use the code GRIDnet. You get $5 in free stock. You can invest in Tesla, Amazon, wherever you want. You get $5 to invest. And of course, this upcoming week on the Grid Network, we got a lot of action going on with Wednesday, Grid Tonight, Thursday, the Women Racing to Win. Then next week, Grid Live Pre-Race, we got IndyCar, MotoGP, and the NASCAR Cup Series. And then we're back next Sunday, Grid Live Wrap-Up, approximately 90 minutes following the NASCAR race. For Joshua, Ben, Adam, and Kobe from the Podium Finish, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, Public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on Public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on Public.com.